to The Hypnotist, the show that gives you inside access to cutting-edge hypnosis with real clients facing genuine issues. Brought to you by the hypnotherapist demanded by celebrities, CEOs, and even royalty, Adam Cox. These recordings took place live from Adam's clinic in London's world-famous Harley Street. So, get yourself comfortable and enjoy today's episode of The Hypnotist.
Hi, it's Adam here, and you're about to listen to a hypnosis session all about ARFID. And ARFID stands for Avoidant or Restrictive Food Intake Disorder. And people that have this are often described as fussy eaters. They're described as people that are difficult. And generally it's because they are very reluctant to try foods that either they've tried before and they know they don't like, or they're new foods that they're not sure about. And I've been working with this client, and the more I work with this client, the more I'm convinced that I had ARFID all throughout my childhood, because certain foods that other people would quite happily have and try and test out, I wouldn't. There'd be certain smells that would just feel pungent or disgusting for me, and certain things that I would look at and the texture would just bother me. So even as an adult, I don't have ketchup, I don't have a lot of thick sauces like mayonnaise, I don't like garlic, I don't like onions. But I found a way of feeling very comfortable with the food that I do like. And you're going to hear a phrase in this hypnosis session called the green zone. And the green zone is all the foods that an individual considers themselves very comfortable eating, pretty much no matter who's around. And for me, that's food like chicken and steak and lots of fruits and lots of vegetables, generally lots of healthy food. But if it's things that have lots of additives or very artificial smells, I'm not that interested. But that doesn't mean that I have a worse quality of life. It just means that I've figured out the foods that I like. And the client that I was working with had certain foods in their green zone. It just wasn't quite big enough for them to feel comfortable in lots of different situations. And they got themselves in a bit of what's called a double bind, because what would stop them from trying new foods is the feeling that they didn't really like or feel comfortable with those foods. But what it would mean is that if they were in certain situations where they had to, which quite often was public situations, maybe a busy place where people are watching them, then they would only try the foods if they were under duress. And that would mean that quite often it felt more pressured and created even more aversion. What this session does is it uses two key strategies. The first strategy is a Trojan horse strategy or a masking strategy, combining foods they like with foods they're not sure about, almost as a Trojan horse. So they hide the taste or flavor of that food and connect it to a food that they feel comfortable with. That would be a way of doing that. So for example, if you were on one of those reality TV shows where you're forced to eat disgusting food, it would be easier to eat that disgusting food if you linked it to a food that you liked. If you liked ice cream, having ice cream with a bit of that disgusting food would feel more palatable than just doing it by itself. So that's one strategy here. The second strategy is to treat private testing almost like reconnaissance, that if they know they're going to be in a place where they're trying different foods, they could do it privately, all by their own, on their own, with no fear of judgment, just to get comfortable with using and trying and smelling different foods. That way, if they then have the same food that they've tried privately in a public situation, it's not quite so daunting because they've already had that first experience. If you are listening to this and you have that aversion to certain foods, and you don't have quite a big enough green zone yet, maybe this session will help. But equally, I do work with clients one-on-one. Quite often it's the parents of children that they're concerned about, the food that they're eating or not eating, that reach out to me. So if you're listening to this and you think, oh, this resonates, and either yourself or your child is very avoidant of certain foods, then there will be a link in the description where you can schedule a completely free consultation call. We'll have a chat and I can explain how I use my approaches to help people actually widen their green zone, feel more comfortable with different foods, so it just no longer becomes an issue anymore. And it can be quite stressful because a lot of people feel like, why can't you just try the food, just taste it? And that's very easy to say if you don't have that kind of sensitivity or that avoidance. But if you do, that would be like if you have a phobia and someone tries to coerce you into doing the thing that's your phobia, all it would do is it would make your anxiety or your physiological reaction worse. So, it comes from a place of genuine empowerment and getting to that future where there's just so many choice that they have that it's no longer an issue. So if that appeals, check out the link in the description. For now, though, you might get value from this session. So find a quiet, comfortable place where you won't be disturbed, relax, and enjoy the session. Take a deep breath in, and as you breathe in that slow, long, relaxing breath, and as you exhale, feel a wonderful feeling of release, as if any worries, stress, and tension, any shame of the past is just leaving your body as you breathe out. And when you breathe in, set the intention to breathe in slightly longer. And as you exhale, set the intention to elongate the outward breath, enabling you to breathe out and continue breathing out longer than you normally would. So as you breathe in and slowly breathe out, you end up breathing deeper, breathing longer, feeling more relaxed, as you begin to notice that this moment here is safe, calm, and private. And with each breath, your mind can drift a little deeper, almost like walking into a quieter part of your own mind, your own thoughts, a place where the noise of other people's opinions simply fades away, and the focus shifts completely to your own experience. Because right here, right now, there's no one to judge, no spotlight, no expectations, just a calm curiosity. And maybe it's that same curiosity that has already helped you expand those foods you feel comfortable eating. And I want you to think of your green zone. All of those foods that you can eat, no matter who's there, who's watching, wherever you may be, because you have a feeling of confidence that you can eat those foods no matter what the circumstances are. And I want you to imagine how much more relaxed your life would feel if that green zone was twice as big, with 2 times as many foods that you feel comfortable. Nobody would ever know you have any issues with food at all, because you would have so many choices, so many combinations. It just wouldn't be a thing anymore. And I want you to think about how foods ended up in your green zone. Sometimes it was just repetition. And sometimes it was an experience that felt pressured or uncomfortable until it didn't. Certain foods came from necessity, but then felt safe. And I want you to think of your red zone as foods that you've already decided, or perhaps already tried, and come to the conclusion that you have no interest in trying them again. In which case, it's not that you can't have those foods. It's simply that you don't want them. The amber zone are all those foods that you've either tried and haven't quite got to the green zone yet, or have never tried at all. The amber zone is your opportunity zone. And perhaps you could imagine a room divided into sections. Think of it as a huge room, like a big hall. The green zone is where you feel familiar and safe, full of foods that you already know and enjoy, and you feel comfortable. And the red zone is those foods you know that you don't want to try ever again. And that might be also quite small. But the biggest space in this hall is the amber zone. That contains food that you've tried a few times, but may not feel comfortable in all situations. But what makes it so big is all the foods you haven't ever tried. And that's why the amber zone is so big. But as you compare the amber zone to the green zone, it dawns on you, you don't have to like all of the foods in the amber zone. Even a small amount of them will double the size of your green zone. And that feels winnable, doable. It feels like something you're able to see, that future where there's enough foods in your green zone that you can live your life with no regard to what other people think and feel, because there's always enough food for you to choose. And I want you to think that it isn't pressure, it isn't force, it isn't making yourself eat foods you don't want to that will double your green zone. It's curiosity and strategy. And with that curiosity, with the right approach, with the right tools, and perhaps even tactics, even an amber food can rapidly move into green. Because somewhere inside you, there's a part of you that used to feel under the spotlight, worried about being judged, about how you'd look if you didn't like a food, wasn't eating enough, or if someone noticed. And I think the part had a job that was to protect you from embarrassment, from judgment, to help you stay in control. And it kind of did that job well. And I want you to imagine inviting that part into the big hall with those 3 zones, and thank that part because it was trying to keep you safe. But I wonder if it can take on a new role that will equally keep you safe. Instead of protecting you through avoidance, it can protect you through discernment, helping you decide what's worth trying and reminding you that trying something privately in your own space is a calm, low-stakes experiment, because nobody would know. Nobody was watching, and nobody would care. All of it is a shot to nothing. Because if you really like that food, then you would feel more comfortable eating it in public, eating it in any situation. Then you would know it's moved from amber to green. And what if you imagine this next part like a quiet test kitchen? But when you eat amber foods all by yourself, you can consider it your own private laboratory. No one's watching. It's just you and the food in front of you. And that could be in the kitchen when no one's there, in your bedroom all by yourself, or going to a place that serves food on your own with nobody that you know in the same place. And you can try these foods all by themselves, or you can add condiments that you might like, flavors, sauces, things that you already like, and you can think of them as acting like a Trojan horse. By having a familiar flavor that you like with an unfamiliar flavor that you're not sure about, what if that helps transition that amber food into a green food? And you might add a sauce, a bit of salt, or maybe just have a drink of a flavored drink before you finish chewing or swallowing. And that could be a reset button for your taste buds. But here's the secret. When you're eating on your own, whatever happens, you win. If you like the food, then it moves closer to the green zone. And if you don't, and maybe you try more than once, you've learned something, and maybe you just put that food in the red zone and don't need to think about that food ever again. Not because you can't, but because you don't want to. And every time you try an amber food, you're teaching your taste buds to be familiar with that food. Because there are foods that are in your green zone now that you didn't really like when you first tasted them, and now you do. So every time you try one of those amber foods, you are training your taste buds, getting it closer to either the green zone or the red zone. But the more times you try, the less likely it will stay in the amber zone. And you can treat this like reconnaissance. Imagine your friends are going to a place to eat, maybe fast food or maybe something else. What if you go to the same place a day or two before, try certain foods, so that when you go back to the same place, you've already had experience of what you like and what you don't, all by yourself. If you like the food, then you can then go to that same place with friends, eating the food you already know you like. And what if eating and enjoying food in front of people you know is what it takes for you to move a food from the amber zone to the green zone? Because when you try foods privately first, your mind begins to realize something profound and powerful. The world is not watching you, and that feeling of judgment was never about other people. It was about a thought or an idea that no longer serves you. If you were in a place and other people did or didn't eat their food, you wouldn't care. Most people are too caught up in their own thoughts, their own lives, to care what other people do or don't do. Everyone else is far too busy thinking about themselves. And as that spotlight fades, the pressure dissolves, and what's left is just you, on your own trying food, giving you evidence that you can try without consequence. It's just you, free to explore, experiment, even laugh if something tastes weird, spit it out if it tastes horrible. It's just trying. And I want you to imagine a situation, maybe a few weeks from now, a few months from now, where something is going to be happening, where there is food that you would need to eat publicly. But what if you do your research, anticipate the likely food there, and keep testing it privately until you find something that works, either a choice of food or a way of adding some things to that food so it just seems fine. And perhaps in a few months' time, you could review maybe some notes, an online journal, and you realize just how many foods you've tried. And some of those foods are now green zone foods. And in doing so, your world, options and choices has expanded. And I want you to imagine yourself then attending that future meal. You've already been discerning, practiced certain foods, figured out what you like and how you like it, and then imagine yourself sitting at that meal with other people around. But see yourself as calm and curious. See yourself choosing foods that feel comfortable for you within whatever limitations exist. Every attempt strengthens that green zone, and it doubles your choices over time. And sooner or later, you may even find yourself enjoying the challenge, using certain condiments like allies, resetting your palate like a professional food explorer. And from now on, the part of you that once feared judgment will remember its new job: to protect you by keeping you curious, calm, and discerning. Private trials is the secret here, and the more you privately test different food, the easier it becomes, because public moments will feel no longer daunting, because you've already done the work before. And every new food becomes just another small adventure. No pressure, no spotlight, just another step expanding your green zone. Because whatever happens, you win. You either find a food you like or don't like, or train your taste buds to become familiar. The only way to lose is to not experiment. But if the fear of judgment is the block, trying foods privately is the way around that block. And the more you think of that, the truer it becomes. And I think the more you try foods privately, the more your green zone expands. And the more your green zone expands, the more judgment and fear of judgment fades away. Because with more options, there feels less pressure and restrictions. And what if you are just a few weeks away from expanding that green zone to a level where any thoughts about trying food publicly become just as easy as trying foods privately, in which case that fear of judgment disappears to nothingness, and you can just eat food, try food, eat what you like, and leave what you don't. And as you hold that thought, it's time to return to the present. But you do so taking a feeling of empowerment, optimism, and almost a sense of adventure with you. So take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your nose. Wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes, connect and calibrate into the here and the now as I now count from 1 to 10 to awaken you. Starting to count. 1, 2, 3, waking up. 4, 5, 6, more alert. 7, 8, open your eyes, open your eyes. 9, 10, wide awake, wide awake, wide awake. Thank you so much for joining me on today's episode of The Hypnotist. If you've enjoyed this episode or got some value from it, please give it a 5-star rating and review. And maybe you know someone that would also benefit from this particular episode, in which case share the episode with them so they can also get the benefit too. And if you would like to listen to this episode where it's just the hypnosis, so no intro, no outro, no explanation, just the hypnosis and completely ad-free, there will be a link in the description where you can subscribe at a very low cost and only get access to the hypnosis. So if that's of interest, please check that out. Thank you again for being a regular listener of The Hypnotist, and I'll see you again soon for more.